All right, let's look at what we heard about Debenhams and Arcadia this week. We can hear from Miatta Fahnbulleh, who's Chief Executive for the New Economics Foundation. A very worrying time.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a double whammy. The news about Debenhams comes off the back of the news about Arcadia going into administration. These are big high street brands that we all know, Topshop, Dorothy Perkins, Debenhams, and, you know, is a story about our high streets being really, really hammered by the pandemic. But this is a trend that far outlives the pandemic.
And Arcadia tumbling into insolvency last night, casting a shadow for its own workers, some 13,000, and a lot of stores, 444.
444 stores, 22 abroad, 13,000 jobs at risk in Arcadia, 6,500 jobs already cut by Debenhams, another 12,000 at risk. And so all of this is telling a story about people losing their livelihoods, which is the story that we will see more and more as the economic impact of the pandemic bites. And, you know, in the end, there are some things that the government is going to have to do in the short term. Part of that is making sure that other retail outlets aren't punished by the pandemic, and that's providing financial support, including things like the mounting debt that a lot of retail and, to be fair, hospitality have been taking on through the pandemic and what it does about that. But critically, those people that are losing their jobs, the government needs to provide support for them through proper social security support, but critically the job of creating new jobs for people to be retrained and take up.
Yeah, the landscape is pretty grim out there, with over 200,000 retail job losses and 20,000 store closures. This is according to the General Secretary of the Usdaw Retail Union, Paddy Lillis, has released a statement. And is there a question now for government and society, wider society, about how life can be brought back into the high street? And let's face it, there were big problems even before the pandemic.
There were, and this is the million-dollar question. So, you know, what we've been seeing in the last few months is an acceleration of a trend that was there well before the pandemic, which is that the pressure that's been put on retail outlets on our high streets as really a consequence of online retail, that some would argue have a far more advantageous playing field to work around, has been creating more and more high street stores going under. And it is going to require us to reimagine our high streets and what they look like. And for me, part of that is actually a really important role for governments at local level, at regional level, supported by, I would say, funding and investment by national government, to think about how it essentially brings on board community spaces. So buy some of the community assets like our leisure centres, like community halls, like empty shops that are going empty,